right. So imagine this. You're handed like a treasure map, right?
Okay.
But instead of leading to like buried gold or something, it guides you to the best version of yourself.
Okay.
That's what we're diving into today. Those personal development plans, those
Okay.
roadmaps to like leveling up your life.
It's funny you use that map analogy because a PDP isn't like a quick trip. It's more like an expedition.
Right.
Full of exploration and discovery. You
Yeah,
know?
for sure.
Yeah.
And every good explorer needs to know where they're starting from.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that self-assessment.
Yeah, that's important. Self-assessment is really about getting real with yourself. Because,
Yeah.
we all tend to have those rose-colored glasses, those self-perceptions.
Right.
But to grow, you really need like a clear view of your strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
Think of it as like taking stock of your resources
Yeah.
before embarking on this journey.
So no more like, I'm awesome at everything thinking.
Yeah.
Time to ditch the ego and get honest.
Yeah, exactly. Now, you don't have to, go full-on therapist here.
Right.
But just even listing like your achievements and your setbacks can be really eye-opening,
Yeah.
It's about identifying the patterns and understanding what makes you tick.
Okay, so we've got our starting point kind of marked on the map, right?
Yeah.
Now, how do we decide where we want to go? This is where goal setting comes in.
Right.
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 But I'm guessing it's a bit more nuanced than just saying, I want to rule the world.
Yeah. You're right. Vague aspirations won't get us very far.
Right.
We need those SMART goals.
Yes.
Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
So I've heard of SMART goals, but sometimes they feel a bit corporate-y.
Yeah.
Could you give us an example that feels more relatable? Maybe something from your own life?
Sure. So a while back, I wanted to learn to play the guitar.
Okay.
But just saying that was too broad. So I set a SMART goal. Learn 3 basic chords and be able to play a simple song within 2 months.
Okay.
It was specific. I could track my progress, and it was achievable within a time frame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like breaking down that ever-size goal
Yes.
into manageable base camps along the way, right?
Exactly.
Suddenly it doesn't feel so daunting.
Right.
But I think there's another important element here, right? It's not just about like setting goals.
Right.
It's about understanding the terrain we're navigating.
That's where SWOT analysis comes in.
Okay.
Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats.
Okay.
It's like doing recon before you head into like uncharted territory.
So it's about more than just knowing where you want to go. It's about knowing what tools you have,
Yeah,
what obstacles you might face, and what paths might be open to you.
exactly. Let's say your goal is to start your own bakery.
Okay.
Your passion for baking is a strength, but maybe your business skills are a weakness. The growing demand for artisan bread in your area is an opportunity, but competition from established bakeries is a threat.
Right.
Seeing these clearly helps you make a plan.
Okay, so we've got our starting point from the self-assessment.
Yes.
We've got our destination from the SMART goals, and we've surveyed the landscape with SWOT analysis.
Uh-huh.
This is where it gets really exciting,
Yeah.
because now it's time to turn all this planning into action.
Yeah. Welcome back to our exploration of personal development plans.
It really has been fascinating so far.
Hasn't it?
Yeah, we've talked about self-assessment, SMART goals.
Uh-huh.
We even did some like strategic recon with SWOT analysis.
Right.
But now let's talk about turning all that insight
Yeah.
into action.
You're right. It's time to build those bridges and start crossing those rivers on our map.
Yes.
This is where we take those SMART goals and we break them down into smaller,
Right.
more manageable steps,
Yeah. Okay, so using your guitar example, it wouldn't just be learn guitar. It would be smaller steps like find a teacher or practice for 30 minutes every day.
Precisely. It's about transforming that big, sometimes intimidating goal
Right.
into a series of smaller wins. It's
Yeah.
like those stepping stones across a stream.
Yeah.
Each one gets you closer to the other side.
And each step builds momentum, right?
Yes.
You start to feel that sense of accomplishment, which fuels you to keep going.
Absolutely. But let's be real. There will be days when you trip on those stepping stones.
Right.
And that's okay. It's part of the process. What matters is that you get back up and keep moving forward.
And this is where mindset comes in, right?
Exactly.
It's not just about having a plan. It's about having the mental fortitude to stick with it even when things get tough.
Remember that concept of growth mindset we touched on earlier?
Uh-huh.
This is where it really comes into play. It's that belief that your abilities aren't fixed. They can be developed.
So instead of saying, I'm just bad at this, you say, I'm going to keep practicing and find new strategies until I get better.
Exactly. It's like upgrading your mental software
Yeah.
to be more resilient and adaptable.
Speaking of upgrades, I was reading an article about how some people use their PDPs not just for skill-based goals, but also for like emotional growth.
That's a fascinating application.
Yeah.
It's like using those SMART goal and action steps to cultivate patience or improve communication skills. It's about recognizing that personal development isn't just about external achievements.
Yeah,
It's about inner growth as well.
I love that. So let's say someone wants to work on their patience. How would they approach that using the PDP framework?
Well, they could start by identifying specific situations where they tend to lose their patience.
Oh,
Maybe it's traffic jams or waiting in long lines.
right.
Then they could set SMART goals for practicing patience in those situations.
So instead of getting frustrated in traffic, they could use that time to practice deep breathing exercises or listen to a podcast.
Exactly. It's about turning those everyday annoyances into opportunities for growth. And the more you practice, the more you rewire your brain to respond differently.
It's like training your patience muscle.
Yes.
But even with the best plan and the right mindset, there's still that age-old challenge.
Yeah.
Staying motivated.
Oh, yeah.
Life gets busy and those initial bursts of enthusiasm tend to fade.
That's so true. And that's why it's crucial to have strategies in place for those inevitable moments when your motivation dips.
Mhm.
One of the most effective techniques is to regularly revisit your why.
You mean that initial spark that ignited this whole journey?
Exactly. Why did you set these goals in the first place? What were you hoping to achieve? How would reaching these goals impact your life? Reminding yourself of that deeper purpose can reignite that fire within.
It's like those motivational posters, but coming from a place of genuine personal meaning. What are some other ways to boost motivation when it starts to dwindle?
Another powerful technique is to visualize yourself achieving those goals. Create a vivid mental picture of what success looks and feels like. Tap into the emotions you'll experience when you reach that destination.
It's like giving your brain a sneak peek of the rewards to come. And it's not just about the big picture, right? It's also about celebrating those smaller wins along the way.
Absolutely. Celebrating those milestones reinforces positive habits and gives you a sense of accomplishment that propels you forward.
So maybe treat yourself to a nice dinner, buy a new book, or just take some time to relax and savor those moments of progress.
Exact. And don't underestimate the power of sharing those wins with others. Sometimes expressing gratitude and acknowledging your accomplishments can boost your motivation and even inspire those around you.
It's like creating a ripple effect of positivity.
Yes.
And I think that's a great place to pause for now.
Okay.
We've covered a lot of ground, and I'm sure our listeners have lots of questions brewing.
They do, and we'll be tackling those head on in part 3 of our deep dive.
So stick around, folks. We'll be back soon to answer your burning questions and provide even more practical tips for creating a PDP that truly works for you. Welcome back to like the final leg of our personal development plan expedition.
It has been a journey.
It really has. We've covered so much, from mapping out our starting point to setting those ambitious yet achievable goals.
Right.
We even learned how to navigate that terrain with SWOT analysis and turn aspirations into those actionable steps.
Yeah, and we explored some fascinating ways to cultivate that growth mindset and even discovered how to use PDP principles for emotional intelligence.
Yes.
But I have a feeling our listeners have some burning questions they've been saving up.
Oh, I'm sure they do. So let's open up that trusty mailbag and see what insights we can uncover.
Okay.
Our first question comes from a listener named Alex, who asks,
Okay.
what if my goals change over time? Do I need to scrap my entire PDP and start from scratch?
That's a great question, Alex, and it brings up a really important point. Personal development is not a static process. It's a journey, not a destination.
Right.
And those goals we set can and often do evolve as we grow and learn.
So it's more like a living document, something you revisit and adjust as you go.
Exactly. Life throws curveballs.
Mm.
Our priorities shift, and sometimes what we thought we wanted turns out to be a detour, not the main highway.
Right.
Don't be afraid to revisit your PDP. Check in with those goals and make some course corrections as needed.
That's reassuring to hear.
Yeah.
It takes the pressure off feeling like you have to have it all figured out perfectly from the get-go.
Absolutely. It's about progress, not perfection, remember?
Yes. Our next question comes from Sarah, who says, I'm feeling overwhelmed by all the things I want to improve.
Okay.
How do I prioritize without spreading myself too thin?
That's a feeling I think a lot of people can relate to.
For sure.
When it comes to goals, sometimes less is more.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to conquer everything at once, choose 1 or 2 key areas that are most important to you right now.
So maybe focus on like laying that strong foundation first.
Exactly.
Building a solid base in those key areas before adding more to your plate.
Think of it like building a house. You wouldn't try to build all the walls at the same time.
Right,
You start with the foundation and then work your way up one level at a time.
right.
Focus, prioritize, and build from there.
Solid advice.
Yeah.
Now let's move on to a question from David, who asks, what if I failed to achieve a goal? Does that mean my whole PDP is a failure?
David, that's a question we all grapple with at some point on our journeys.
Yeah,
But here's the thing, failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of the process.
it's like those scientists experimenting in the lab.
Yes.
Not every experiment leads to a breakthrough,
Mm-hmm.
but each one offers valuable data and teaches them something new.
Exactly. Instead of viewing a setback as a defeat, ask yourself, what can I learn from this?
Right.
How can I adjust my approach moving forward?
Yeah.
Maybe it's about breaking down the goal into even smaller steps, or seeking support from a mentor, or even revising the goal itself.
It's about embracing that growth mindset, remembering that setbacks are not roadblocks. They're just bends in the road.
Our final question today comes from Maria. She asks, how do I stay motivated when the initial excitement of creating my PDP wears off?
The inevitable motivation dip, we've all been there.
You start with that burst of energy, but then life happens, distractions creep in, and suddenly that initial spark starts to flicker.
Yeah.
But there are definitely ways to reignite that fire. One powerful technique is to regularly revisit your why.
That sense of purpose that fueled this whole journey in the first place.
Exactly. Why did you embark on this path? What were you hoping to achieve? How would reaching these goals impact your life? Reconnecting with that deeper meaning can infuse your efforts with renewed purpose.
It's like remembering your North Star, that guiding light that keeps you on track, even when the path gets a little rocky.
And another helpful strategy is to find an accountability partner.
Oh, yeah.
Someone who can support you, encourage you, and even challenge you to stay on track when your motivation wavers.
It's like having a hiking buddy.
Yes.
Someone who cheers you on during those uphill climbs and shares the load when the going gets tough.
Exactly. It's about creating a support system that keeps you motivated and helps you navigate the ups and downs of the journey.
Well, we've reached the end of our deep dive into personal development plans.
We have.
We've explored the tools, the strategies, the mindset, and even tackled some common challenges head-on.
It's been a fascinating exploration.
It really has, and I hope our listeners are feeling inspired and empowered to create their own roadmaps for growth and fulfillment.
Me too.
Remember, this is just the beginning. The real adventure starts when you take those first steps.
Yes.
And as you embark on this journey, keep in mind that it's not about reaching some mythical state of perfection.
Right.
It's about progress, not perfection, and celebrating those wins along the way.
And if you ever find yourself needing a little boost of inspiration, remember that we're here to support you. We've included links to valuable resources in the show notes.
Yes.
From insightful books and articles to online communities where you can connect with like-minded individuals on their own personal development journeys.
Until next time, fellow explorers, keep those minds curious, those hearts open, and embrace the incredible journey of becoming the best version of yourself.